Welcome to Marketing Edge on TV, Nigeria's leading television initiative on the business of brand management and the management of brand business. It is a 30-minute potpourri of brand news, products launch, brand personality interview, brand of the week, brand in focus, industry conversation, consumer insights, market update, and everything that is aimed at promoting the brand idea. I am Dele Agadumo.
The Nigerian marketing and advertising industry no doubt offer a huge potential for prospective investors and professionals with requisite skills and competencies to tap into the market. Marketing Edge on TV is a potpourri of happenings and developments in the integrated marketing and communication space of the Nigerian economy. Watch out for top players, gladiators, and professionals in the competitive business of brand management and management of brand business in Nigeria. From the cerebral and glamorous advertising professionals to the well-groomed marketing whiz-kid dictating and directing brand management business. Watch Marketing Edge on TV, only on TVC News.
It is still Marketing Edge on TV, your number one TV show on the business of brand management and the management of brand business. Let's take some brand news. Jude Odia, Chief Operating Officer at Starcom Media Perspectives, one of Nigeria's leading media agencies, has cautioned O2 Academy students against complacency when they finally get the chance to work in a marketing communications agency. Speaking as a guest instructor at O2 Academy's masterclass, which held on September 1, 2018 at the Academy's premises, he emphasized their need to subject themselves to constant upskilling and reskilling to survive the intense competition in the industry and attain the pinnacle of their career in marketing communications. And Are Fatai Odeshile, one of Nigeria's most prolific marketers, has resigned from his position as Chief Executive Officer of Grand Oak Limited. His resignation takes effect from the end of September. Odeshile's resignation brings to an end 27 years of meritorious service at the Nigerian Distilleries Limited and Grand Oak Limited, both subsidiaries of the Lexo Group of companies. And as Nigeria draws close to another potentially heated political campaign season, the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria, APCON, in collaboration with the Advertising Practitioners Association Abuja chapter, has concluded plans to hold a stakeholders forum on political communication with the theme Ethical Advertising and Communication, a tool for enhancing peace and political stability. The acting registrar and chief executive, Mrs. Ijedi Iyoha, RPA, said in Lagos that the forum is organized in anticipation of commencement of campaigns for the 2019 general elections and aims at discussing critical issues around the management of electioneering campaign communication and to highlight the rules of engagement applicable to the development and deployment of such communication. And organizers of Epica Awards have announced the opening of entries for the 2018 edition of the prestigious awards. The call for the organizers, which went out recently, is expected to get entries from advertising agencies, design studios, production companies, digital specialists, PR companies, media companies, and talents from every corner of the creative community. Lastly, internet users in Nigeria increased marginally to 103.6 million in July, as according to the Nigerian Communications Commission. The NCC disclosed this in its monthly internet subscribers data. And that's our brand news on Marketing Edge on TV for today.
The Nigerian marketing and advertising industry no doubt offer a huge potential for prospective investors and professionals with requisite skills and competencies to tap into the market. Marketing Edge on TV is a potpourri of happenings and developments in the integrated marketing and communication space of the Nigerian economy. Watch out for top players, gladiators, and professionals in the competitive business of brand management and management of brand business in Nigeria. From the cerebral and glamorous advertising professionals to the well-groomed marketing whiz-kid dictating and directing brand management business. Watch Marketing Edge on TV, only on TVC News.
Flour Mills of Nigeria is clearly Nigeria's foremost food business. And in a bid to maintain its market leadership, the group has aggressively embarked on various expansion and investment strategies thought necessary to keep it at the top of the ladder. The new investment is focused on Flour Mills' core business, which is food, agro-allied and logistics support. In each of these sectors, FMN is a clear market leader. The company's present investment portfolio comprises flour milling, production of pasta, noodles, edible oil and refined sugar, production of livestock feeds, farming and other agro-allied activities, distribution and sale of fertilizer, manufacturing and marketing of laminated woven polypropylene sacks and flexible packaging materials, operation of terminals A and B at the Apapa port, custom clearing, forwarding and shipping agency and logistics. Not until recently, when it sold off all its holding, Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC was also a major shareholder in Unisem, a producer of cement. The company has in recent years gradually continued to expand its product offerings, shifting base solely from flour to other flour-based and agro-allied businesses, while also embarking on investments that will create synergies along the value chain. This is in view of the fact that the Nigerian government projects a rapid increase in population and speculates that the country may witness food shortages in the near future if investment in agriculture is not encouraged.
The Nigerian marketing and advertising industry no doubt offer a huge potential for prospective investors and professionals with requisite skills and competencies to tap into the market. Marketing Edge on TV is a potpourri of happenings and developments in the integrated marketing and communication space of the Nigerian economy. Watch out for top players, gladiators and professionals in the competitive business of brand management and management of brand business in Nigeria. From the cerebral and glamorous advertising professionals to the well-groomed marketing whiz-kid dictating and directing brand management business. Watch Marketing Edge on TV, only on TVC News.
That was our brand in focus, where we featured Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC. And if you've just tuned in, this is Marketing Edge on TV, Nigeria's #1 and leading television initiative on the business of brand management and the management of brand business. On our industry conversation this afternoon, we shall be focusing on changing paradigm in the media. And with me to do justice to that, I have Femi Adelusi, MD CEO, Brand Eye Media. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And also I have Innocent Obo. He is the president of Jijo Group of Companies. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Before we go on, let me start by asking you, Femi, this question.
Yeah.
Now, how will you assess the changing dynamics in the Nigerian media market today?
Okay, it's a very interesting question. I think we can look at it from various perspectives. I think the key word I want to use is very, very dynamic. A lot is going on, but I think a lot of that is driven by the consumer. Okay. A lot of that is driven by technology. And every day we see something new on media. Every day we get exposed to media and media context beyond local. Like they always say, the world is indeed a global village. So media has gone beyond Nigeria. And I think the biggest enabler of that is the complexity of today's consumer and also the dynamism that technology brings to the party.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you the same question. How would you assess the dynamics of the Nigerian media markets today?
Well, I will pick it up from a point Femi mentioned, the consumer. There's been a lot of changes in the consumer. He remains the same in so many aspects, but then his mind, his trends, his behaviors, and even his exposures have changed. Now you have the consumer, the world. We used to know the world as a global village, but now it's a global hand. So everything has practically changed, and that's affected how the consumer can be reached, generally. So the word dynamism might even be an understatement, because today's world, what you see is that the consumer actually is the leader of the media space, and no longer the brand marketeer who controls that space. The consumer has taken the step, and we need to be ahead of him, which means that we have to be a step faster and ultra dynamic to deal with him.
Yeah. And if I can build on that further, the consumer also is becoming the media.
Yeah.
And that's also what is new and different.
Okay.
So the consumer himself or herself becoming the media for today. So rather than separating the media and the consumer as it used to be, everything, there's almost a convergence. So you have a situation where even the consumers are becoming media themselves.
Okay, so let's talk about programmatics now. How will you, what would you say is the impact of the latest preference on programmatics?
I think for me as a planner or as a media practitioner, I think it's a lot of joy from what programmatic brings. The way media used to be done on the digital landscape before, prior to now, is that you've got thousands of websites, you've got thousands of platforms in which a strategist needs to consider, evaluate, and do his planning.
Okay.
So it's a lot of rigor. It's very manual. It takes a lot of time. What programmatics brings to the table is speed, is space, and in a few minutes you can actually decide and make your media plan, make your selections on channels and platforms within very short time, and I'm talking milliseconds. So what programmatic brings is efficiency in terms of time, better thinking in terms of decisions as to what channels, what content, or what platforms to buy on. And of course, it makes the life of the planner a lot easier. And I think on the client side, what it brings is better efficiency in terms of spend, because they're making the right decisions, informed, all within that short time.
Okay.
So it also brings better measurements. It also brings better reporting as well. So I think one of the biggest development in the media landscape today is the capability that we have from programmatic buying and planning.
Okay, you have anything to add to that?
Well, the only thing I want to say added to that is the fact that with programmatics, and it's like they are going to come, a lot of it, it actually takes away a lot from the planner.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is something we really need to watch, because the entry level is going to get lower, because the rigor that is expected of a planner, the knowledge base is being taken away, and some form of artificial intelligence is giving that away. Now, yes, it empowers the client to be stronger, but then you look into the future, you ask yourself, at a point, as a marketing director, you begin to ask yourself, why don't you engage a media agency? Why don't you get somebody in your house to do that? So what I will say quickly is that while these forms of technology is important, it is also important for us as experts in the field to look at it and begin to see what the future portends. It's extremely important to look at the future, what it portends for an industry that is thriving, for an industry that is an employer, and begin to ask ourselves, okay, what more can we add to this that is an added value to the client and a reason to keep us in business? It's very important we look at that.
Yeah.
All right, then it's still Marketing Edge on TV, and we are still talking about, we're still on our industry conversation segment. Now, I want to ask this question. How can the industry, we know that this is a digital age, how can the industry be repositioned post-digital age?
Well, I'll quickly jump into that. The truth is, with technology, which is a driver for the digital age, what we'll begin to see is that technology will get faster, smoother, processes will get shorter, and there will be a lot of weeding.
Okay.
Now, an entire industry that was very manual-based is being compressed. Now, what is media going to be what is the whole gamut of marketing and media going to be in a few years from now? You will see a lot of cross-value integration. You will see a lot, because that's what digital is. That's what the world is taking us to. You see a lot of cross-value integration. You see a lot of different industries merging into one because of the strength of the digital age. What you actually are seeing today is the mix of media and entertainment. A lot of things are beginning to happen because of the power of the digital space. Now, that integration is very important. How do we now reposition this industry in the face of that will now depend on us experts to begin to think ahead. It's not actually that easy to think ahead of technology, but because we are the creators of technology, but technology using artificial intelligence actually leads. If we must win, then the mindsets of the people driving the industry, people like us who are here, is begin to look at it in general and say, okay, what added value can we bring in to the technology, to the digital space, that is going to give that extra value and money in the pocket for the client?
Okay. Yeah, and I think that brings a lot of challenge to today's practitioner in terms of what he knows and what he needs to know. So we need to relearn. So continuous development, continuous education is very critical. Also in the part of the agencies, for example, the current structure, the current processes and technology that exist as of today would need to be reworked. So like Dejo said, you need to begin to look at your structure and say, is this efficient enough? Do I need to have a 30-man agency, or do I need a 10-man agency? What aspect of what I do today will be replaced by technology, and which one do I really need human? Because what artificial intelligence is also going to bring is the fact that technology and machines will begin to do the thinking for us and the decision making. And so for human and for the practitioner today is about ensuring that the data and the data sources are clean. So it's about learning and developing skills in other areas beyond the traditional areas in which we learn, and also having the types of processes and tools that allow us to run efficiently. We may not need 45 or 50 media agencies. So it might also mean that agencies will need to begin to see how can they collaborate or even integrate and work together. I think there will be a bit of the shaft being separated from the width from a practice standpoint, if you're not willing to adopt the new technology and embrace the tools that will be available to do media planning and strategy for the future.
In other words, that's one of the tools required to strengthen the industry.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have more tools?
Well, I wanted to add something to what he said. Shared value is the future. Okay. Whether in media, whether in advertising, whether in the general marketing space. It's extremely important we understand, like Femi mentioned earlier on, when the machines and the robotics begin to take over the scene, what extra value can you add? What are the shared values that you, 2, 3, 4 agencies can put together to provide? I mentioned now that in the media and entertainment space, that you're going to see mergers already. Yeah. Now, gone are the days where today what you see, you get to see producers, music producers, serving as media buyers and planners. Then they actually they are now the media. So now they understand what experts used to claim to know how to do alone, and they know how to do it well. And guess what? They are actually the media we're looking for. So how do you now have shared values that whereby you can partner with them? You see those 3, 4 agencies that do 3, 4 different things that was one before, were independent before, coming together as one to provide value to the client. Because ultimately what the client is looking for the best way to spend his money to have the best results. So the most efficient cost and the best of impact it can make. So if we begin to look at those shared value opportunities, then the future we can hold and control.
Okay. It's still Marketing Edge on TV, and we're still discussing changing paradigm in the media. And I still have with me Femi Adelusi, the MD CEO of Brand Eye Media, and of course Innocent Obo, the president of Jijo Group of Companies. And finally, how is regulation and code of practice going to impact the changing and existing paradigm as we see it today?
Okay. I'm a strong believer in self-regulation to start with. So I think I need to put that straightforward. I do understand the role of the regulatory bodies. In our market today, their role is very important, and we need to continue to collaborate and engage with them. But I think the media practice of the future, we put a lot more demand on agencies and practitioners who self-regulate, because the pace at which things need to happen, the way in which content is created today, there is no time for regulation. So when a consumer becomes the media, is creating his content online, is delivering it online real time. So regulation will tend to slow things down. And so what will naturally happen is there will be the way in which content is being produced and served will require less regulation. I think practitioners will need to learn regulations themselves and know when to avoid the pitfalls. So if you take some important segments like tobacco, like alcoholic beverage advertising, I see a future when you may not need to begin to go to a regulator, the government parastatal, to register. But the demand will be on you as a practitioner when you have gone through the training and to understand the code, to begin to put that into your development itself, rather than waiting for someone to tell you. Because I think the pace at which content is being driven, and also the channel and the platform in which content is being served today and will be served in the future, will leave very, very little room for intervention from structured regulators.
Yeah, I agree to a very great extent what he said. Okay. We need to self-regulate. However, the regulators themselves will need to work very fast. That's another point we need to consider. Yes, there must be some form of regulation, but the speed at which the trend is changing, the regulators need to also employ those tactics to actually understand it. It is also very important, because sometimes when you go online and you see a lot of communication, like Femi said, we've said here clearly, because the consumer is now the content, is now the media, a lot of things get to pass through the sieve so easily that when you look at it and look about 10, 15 years ago, you go, this will never have passed, you know? But now you can't really slam, because the guy is on his phone creating his own content. You know, the news is now, if you look at the news, for example, the news is now faster. I mean, something happens on Third Mainland Bridge and you get to see it in London in the next second. You know, so and that's where the world has gone to. Brands are latching onto it and even utilizing it. I mean, when you look at the influencer part of it, a lot of the things that brands are beginning to do, how do you manage these things? Yes, a lot of the big brands, the big clients, the big brands are self-regulating, but to what extent can we really get there? The truth is that at a point, the rules will change. We have to accept it, that the rules will change in line with consumer behaviors. Yes, you need to really control and guide. Rather than see proper regulation of the hacking and the cutting, you will see a regulation of guidance. Because then the regulators, as much as they see it, will be, regulation might be getting into personal space. So there must be a marriage between personal space and regulation. And then that will call for guidance into the future.
All right, then it is still Marketing Edge on TV, and it's been very, very interesting talking about changing paradigm in the media. And my discussants have been Femi Adelusi, MD, CEO of Brand Eye Media. Thank you very much for coming.
It's my pleasure.
And also Innocent Obo. Thank you so much for coming, President of DJO Group of Companies. The program continues shortly. And that's our package for this week on Marketing Edge on TV, Nigeria's leading television initiative on the business of brand management and the management of brand business. Be sure to join us again next week. My name is Dele Agadumo.